guys, I'm Saumya and I'm back again with another video. I hope you're all well and safe. So if you are an old subscriber, then welcome back. But if you are new to this channel, then I make a lot of bookish content here. So if you are a reader or would like to become one, then do hit that subscribe button and don't forget to press the bell icon. So it's time for me to make a monsoon recommendation video, which is what this video is about. So I've never made a monsoon recommendation video, so one has to start sometime. I personally love monsoons, but I just don't like the humidity that comes with it. So what do you think of the monsoons? Do you wait for them or do you not like them? And also let me know which part of India are you from. I look forward to your comments. And in today's video, I am going to recommend 10 books that you can read during the monsoons. So let's get started. The first book is Only Love by Eric Segal. Now people talk about Love Story by Eric Segal as it's very popular. So if you have read that book and you like it, then you should give Only Love a try as well. It's kind of unconventional. So it's a story about Matthew and Sylvia, and they both are doctors and they both meet in Africa during a mercy mission and they both fall in love. But life happens and they get separated. They meet again after many years when Matthew is at the top of his field and Sylvia is married to a rich man. The circumstances of their meeting again is such that Matthew has to operate on Sylvia and he has to save her life. So what happens, what transpires when they meet, what transpires when they're separated is what the story is about. It's a bit different, but it is very riveting. And if you want to read a love story that is going to move you, then Only Love is a very good choice. The next book is The Illicit Happiness of Other People by Manu Joseph. So the title alone should make you want to read this book. I mean, that's why I had picked it up and I did not regret it. So this story is taking place in the Madras of 1990. 17-year-old Uni Chako fell from his balcony and died. And 3 years after his death, his father, Usep Chako, receives a parcel that contains a comic strip which was drawn by Uni when he was alive. So Usep is convinced that if he can do some investigation, he can maybe get to the root of his son's death. So Uni's family is a dysfunctional family. Uni's mother hates Usep Chako, her husband, and she's always plotting to kill him. Uni's little brother Thoma has his own story going on, and this story also does social commentary on the Madras of 1990, and it deals with some rather dark and heavy themes. If all of this sounds like something that you would be interested in reading, then you should definitely go for this book because it is very, very well written. The next book is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. So this is a story of a 13-year-old boy named Connor, and the story is taking place in England. So Connor's mother is undergoing chemotherapy because she has terminal cancer. And because of that, Connor obviously leads a very sad life. The overall vibe of the story is quite gloomy and it talks about the complex human emotions in the simplest of the ways, which is why this book really stands out for me. So a monster often visits Connor and he asks Connor to speak a truth that Connor is not ready to admit. So this is the very reason why this book talks about complex human emotions. Often as human beings we feel certain things and we don't want to admit that we feel those things, but how long can we live in denial? So this story is very beautifully written. It is a very emotional read and it really is an unforgettable reading experience. The next book is 10th of December by George Saunders. So this is a collection of 11 short stories and all these stories are taking place in the United States. Now I recommend this book to all those people who are looking to read a book that can be an experimental read for them. You might just end up loving it, especially if you are very open-minded as a reader. A lot of these stories don't even give you context right in the beginning. The context forms as you read the story, so that might be unsettling for some readers, but I feel that reading this book is an enjoyable and a different experience all the same. So keeping that in mind, I feel that if you want to read short stories that are going to be a unique reading experience for you, then you should go for 10th of December. The next book is All the Lives We Never Lived by Anuradha Roy. Now to be honest, this can be a winter read as well, but at the same time this can be a monsoon read as well. So this story is taking place before the independence, a good part of the story. So it's taking place in the 1930s in a fictional town in India called Muntazir, and it's a story about a 9-year-old boy named Mishkin Rosario. So Mishkin's mother, Gayatri Rosario, is not really happy with her life because she feels trapped being married to Mishkin's father because she's a free spirit. So in order to lead her life on her own terms, she ends up running away to Dutch East Indies or Bali with a German man. So this story follows the lives of both Mishkin and Gayatri after Gayatri runs away. So it's a very, very beautiful story, a bit different, but so beautifully written, such a gentle reading experience, and absolutely brilliant. The next book is Amrita Imrose, A Love Story by Uma Trilok. So this one is a non-fiction book, and it's an account of the companionship that Amrita Pritam and Imrose shared. Now, as you already must know, that Amrita Pritam was a very famous Punjabi novelist and Imrose is a very famous artist. So they met in the 1960s, and since then they became inseparable. They never got married to each other, but they shared this strong bond, friendship, companionship, love, and a lot of people voiced their opinions against their living together, but Amrita Pritam and Imrose just never paid heed to any of them, and they kept living life as it made sense to them. So Imrose was 10 years younger than Amrita Pritam, so that was another very different thing about their relationship. So this book talks about how the author Uma Trilok saw their relationship from her own perspective when she came to know them personally. The next book is Bombay Stories by Saadat Hasan Manto, translated from Urdu to English by Matt Reek and Aftab Ahmed. So this is a collection of 14 short stories that talk about the 1930s Bombay, and these stories talk about the non-glamorous side of Bombay because the characters in these stories are prostitutes, pimps, crooks, and people who belong to the low life section of the society. People who seem to be from a faraway world to people like us. But through these stories, we form a connection with these characters because we get to read about their emotions, we get to see their human side. Because no matter what difference there is in their world and our world, we are still human and we are all connected because of that. And these stories make all these characters very, very relatable. The next book is The Legends of Pen Sam by Mamang Dai. So the narrator of this story, along with a woman named Mona, who is a magazine editor, visit a village in Arunachal Pradesh, and they meet different people there who share different stories and legends about that place with these two people. And all these legends make up for this novel. Yes, this is a novel, it's not a collection of short stories, as I mistook it the first time I picked it up. Anyways, so the reason that this is a monsoon read is because the description of nature in this book is very vivid. And if you are a reader who enjoys reading books with detailed descriptions of nature, then this is a book that you cannot miss out on. It's important for you to read it. Also, the vibe of this book is very different, very mysterious, enigmatic, and some stories are very fascinating. Some of them really make you wonder. So this book is actually a perfect monsoon read from that perspective. The next book is Elmet by Fiona Mosley. So I read this book a few years back and I still remember how much I loved this book. This book is a page turner, but not because it's fast paced. In fact, quite the opposite. It's a slow read, but the reason this is a page turner is because you get invested in the story and you get invested in the characters. So Daniel is 14 and Kathy is 15. They're siblings. They live in a house with their daddy in a copse, and this house was built by their daddy with his own two hands. And their daddy is a fighter and a very formidable one in his circles, but he's a very gentle parent with his two kids. So this story has been narrated by Daniel, and the story talks about how there are people who have power and social standing and how they use this power to prey on the ones with a weaker social standing. The themes in this book are those of familial love and the corruption of the people in power, and you should go for this book, especially if you're fond of books that have a lyrical and a poetic writing style, but not in a way where it goes overboard. The next book is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. So a man named Gregor Samsa wakes up to find out that he has transformed into a huge insect. Now why and how he transformed has not been explained, but just it has been talked about that he wakes up to find himself completely changed. So his family is repulsed by this new change, obviously, and they start keeping their distance from him, and he becomes more and more lonely and isolated. On one hand, you can understand what his family is going through, but on the other hand you also empathize with Gregor Samsa. This book talks about the themes of isolation, identity crisis and alienation. It has been written very effectively, and overall this is a very emotional read, and you end up feeling really sad for Gregor Samsa, but you cannot blame anyone in the story. So there's that as well. Overall, it is one of those books that if you haven't read it yet, you must read, because you might even end up relating to it, especially if you feel trapped in your own life by doing something that you don't want to do. In that case, you might find a deeper level of relatability with this story and Gregor Samsa's life. So guys, these were my 10 recommendations of the books that you can read during the monsoon. This was my first monsoon reads video. I hope you liked it and found it useful. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description box. I'll be back with my next video super soon. Till then, bye bye, take care and stay safe.